find myself answering some questions about the introduction to Solidworks tutorials. So I think it's worthwhile to go through and address some of the limitations of tutorials in general. And I think if you've watched any of my videos, you know they're not polished and rehearsed. They're pretty much on the fly, and I make mistakes and figure out ways to correct them or back up and try again. The design process is pretty fluid. It's certainly not linear, but it is an evolving process that you're going to have to get used to some chaos and craziness that goes with it, because we may design this part, get it into the assembly, make an adjustment, make another adjustment, have to come back, make another adjustment. We're certainly not carving anything out of marble, and the mistake causes it to completely fall apart. But we're going to have to deal with issues as we're sculpting, as we're creating our geometry. So this piece says it takes 1 hour. If you're familiar with the features and the sketches, then it really shouldn't take that long. Lesson includes creating base, boss, and cut features from sketches, adding fillets, creating a circular pattern, adding drawing views, center lines, center marks, and dimensions to the drawing. So they're going to take it through the process of creating the part. So next topic, my first part. We're going to select units. Pretty much what we've been doing in the lecture videos. Same type of process. Units, millimeters, grams, and seconds. Since we have set up a template, we can go into the millimeters. If you haven't set up a template, then you'll need to set to metric. All right, so opening up the part, fly that out of the way, file, new. And if we're in the part, so let's see, my templates are over here, so there's the part inch. Let's assume that you haven't created these templates yet, so part. And what we're going to check for to make sure that we're in metric is in the lower right corner is showing me that it is in inch, pounds, and seconds. And the pop-up is just off of my screen. Again, with the YouTube 720 by 480 whatever, I'm only using part of my screen, so I hate when things pop up off of the usable area. Anyway, in this button, you're going to be able to come up to millimeters, grams, and seconds. It's going to switch over. And one of the things we need to discuss here pretty quick is what happens when you start the part in inches and then all of a sudden realize it's millimeters, grams, and seconds. So there's some different things that we'll need to address coming up. So sketching the circle, extruded boss base, depending on how you want to get into the sketch. They're going to go through the process as a click on what you want to do, and then the planes come up and say, where do you want to start the sketch? I think my preference is to be in the sketch tab, pick the plane that you want. All right, so they're saying to move this over the top plane. And then from a workflow standpoint, this is going to be your most efficient, is to right click on the top plane, go to sketch. Otherwise, we would go to sketch. It would give us something, give us the same thing as a selecting the feature. And I didn't want the front plane, so I get to exit out of that and just go ahead and discard the changes. Top plane, sketch would be a fourth way, since I'm throwing them all in here, to get into a sketch is to select the plane or the face that you want and then go to the sketch. Let's see, is it up here? No. The one thing you'd want to watch if you're using the little pull down arrows is make sure you're not selecting the 3D sketch. They're going to have us go into the circle tool and over the origin. So we're in a sketch, we have the red origin. Long leg is vertical, short leg is horizontal. Pointer changes, it's showing you some of the sketch relations that you need to be looking for. And we're going to drag out and then set the dimension later. So their note is telling us that don't worry about the 1.54, drag it some distance, whatever it ends up. And they're showing it in inches after they told us to go into metric. That's interesting. I gotta verify that. For units, select millimeters, grams, and seconds. Either that or no, it's saying 1.45 inches, so. Alrighty then, editing as we go, proofreading as we go. Alright, so adding the dimension. Our shaded sketch contours is on, so notice that everything interior is showing us that we have an enclosed region. So when we talk about contours and regions, the perimeter, the circle itself, is our contour, and the interior space that is showing as shaded is our region. I'm going to go ahead and click that off, go into the dimension, and they're telling us to do what I just did, smart dimension, preview the diameter dimension, modify, and 128 millimeters. So guess they did manage to get theirs changed over. Alright, so selecting on the circle, watch where you place the dimension because it's going to have some different results. And I'm okay with the interior, so 128. Going into the extrusion. You do not have to exit the sketch to get into the feature. You can, and then ready to create the 3D cylinder sketch for the extrusion. If you went in through features, then you're automatically going to go from the sketch back to that feature. It's not always going to be the best selection to go in through the go into the sketch and then directly into the features. So I have to make a little adjustment there. All right, you exit the sketch and it will take you automatically into the feature. Since I did not do it that way, we're going to come over to features, go into the extrude boss base. This will put me in the same location. And when they refer to the property manager, they're referring to everything on the left. So all of the parameters will show up on the left side. My screen may chop some of them off if I run out of room. Under direction 1, we're doing a blind in condition. And then setting the direction, it's going up, but it could also go down. So in our relation with the top plane, we would be in X and Z, so negative Y, so to speak. But it's not even having to do with the axes. It is more, are we going in a positive or negative direction from the plane that we are sketching in. So I reverse the direction again. I see that the arrow is going the right way. I can also grab that arrow and drag. Do not spend a lot of time dragging to an exact number. They want 7. But if you go closer to the scale, it will reduce 1 magnitude and get you a little bit closer. I really want 7, 6, 8, 6, 8. Not going to give it to me. I'm done. All right, so I can either come over and if I double click in the area for the dimension, I can type in the 7 and be done. Most of the time I don't even mess with the scale. We go ahead and accept, and we're ready to go to their next step. Saving the part. Good idea to save. File name. So this is their intro. They didn't, so pressure plate. And I'll go ahead and put this in my assignments folder. I don't really have an assignment for it, but we'll go pressure plate. And fingers are not cooperating this morning, so save. And just off of the screen, my window is a little bit bigger. All right, fly back in. Saving after the first extrude is not required. It is a good idea to save often and save oftener, that you don't get caught. The system has become enough more stable that unless you're doing really crazy geometry, it shouldn't be that much of an issue with the computer locking up or crashing on the Solidworks software. If you watched, again, if you watched any of my previous videos, you know that I work without a net for the better part of 30 to 40, sometimes an hour time block, and then, oh yeah, I probably should save. Don't do that. Save in regular increments and hit the Control S button regularly to save your parts. Click Extruded Boss Base on the features. They're taking you in again through the feature, and this one is going to be the little raised up portion, so just kind of double checking here. They still want to do that on the top plane. Keep in mind that I'm in not grabbing the window. If we grab the top plane, that would be the same as rotating over and grabbing the bottom of the boss that we just created. All right, so you have decisions to make. So I'm going to go with the instructions this time. So, except my fingers really wanted to do what I normally do, to follow my standard workflow. So, top plane, extruded boss base. We're going to draw the circle, and I don't think I elaborated on the watching for the origin. If you're following along with these instructions, hopefully you pick that up. Once we are hovering over the top of the origin, you're going to see the little yellow box. That is telling you that you're going to get a coincident or a concentricity. And we draw the first one. The ring is concentric with the base at the origin, placed at the center, and you can hit the check boxes. I don't normally worry about these type of check boxes. I'll just go right into the next command. Smart dimension and 75 millimeters. Alright, so let's go to the next. Double check my instructions. Modify 75. We're going to offset the entities. So we need to make sure that the circle represents the outside of the ring, inside ring using offset entities. And we need to make sure that the circle is selected. All right, so right now I'm seeing black. I applied the dimension. If I go back to select or I hit escape, then the circle isn't highlighted. So I think that will be an issue. Maybe not. Let's go ahead and offset entities, and we're going 5 millimeters. And nothing really happens. So even in their picture, they're showing the circle in blue. You only get that blue when it's highlighted. All right, so we'll select. We're going to reverse the direction to make it an any. And then, oh, okay, so then they say in item 3, select the sketch circle. So we have a little conflict with my habits of pre-selecting everything as opposed to post-selecting. All right, so extrude. Just be aware that at some point you're going to select the circle. All right, now that the sketch, all right, I know I'm flying these in and out. And then we have the 5 millimeters, dimension is showing to the inside. Now when we exit, accepting the sketch, it puts us right into the boss extrude, and I'm hitting the middle mouse button to rotate it over. And with a direction of 1 to the first feature to 7 millimeters. Then I'm going to go to 12 millimeters. And there again, based on what they just told me, or what I understood them to tell me, when I go back to the first boss, and it's showing me in the up direction, and we just opened a sketch on the top plane and we're going through 12. Okay, we saved, we sketched, click the top, on the standard views, the circle on the sketch bar. So they really didn't tell us select the top face of the part. Oh, oops, that's what I get for not reading directions. Alright, so one of my favorite tools that doesn't get a lot of documentation is the Edit Sketch Plane. And it is currently on the top plane. I'm going to move it to the top face, and then that makes the adjustment. Alright, so Control 7 on the keyboard puts me into isometric. So getting in a little bit of a hurry and not reading all the instructions is and comprehending what they're telling me to do is a little bit of a problem here. So we have the ring, and we've clicked out of it, sketching the hole in the center. It's going to be an extruded cut, top face of the boss, top plane of the part. If the option to rotate into view is selected, let's go ahead and I'll try and stay. My fingers want to go to the sketch. Under your options and sketch, auto rotate view normal to sketch plane on sketch creation saves you having to hit that top on the standard toolbar every time. It will rotate into view. Sometimes it can be a nuisance and we would turn that off, but for the most part it's a decent way to go. So again, picking at the origin, dragging out some distance. We are concentric, coincident to the origin. We're going to place a dimension. Make sure I got everything this time. Smart dimension, 25 millimeters. And in the modify box, 25. Creating the hole, we go ahead and exit the sketch. Direction 1, through all for the in condition. So, through all. And I just hit the middle mouse button, rotate. Trimetric's okay. Control 7 on the keyboard will take me to isometric, which is close enough. What they're referring to on the standard toolbars is either the view orientation, and then there is isometric, dimetric, trimetric. By the time I do all of that, I can just hit Control 7. The other item would be to hit the space bar on the keyboard, which brings us up to the same orientation view, and then you would be able to pick views on the selection cube. So what it's showing you is you want to see the back quadrant or some other quadrant. Alright, so otherwise, keyboard shortcuts. Going to add the fillets. Click fillet on the features toolbar, and we're already in a isometric view. Under fillet type, make sure it's constant size. Unless you've changed it to one of these others, it should be. And they're going to give you the top face. Oh, I got the edge. Okay, so face 1. And using the middle scroll mouse, we'll zoom up and go face 2. And the radius will be 2 millimeters. Alright, so even though the preview isn't showing on this edge, we're set to partial preview. So once we hit OK, then it will finish the rest. Alright, the sketching this tall cylinder extrusion. Top view, top face of the cylinder. Alright, so here is the expand the line flyout on the sketch command feature and click Centerline. It's a construction line for the next circle. It keeps the center of the circle vertical with respect to the origin. So they're starting at the origin and they're coming out some distance. And when the line is about, press select and alright, so I'm going to stay with my preferences. The flyout is referring to the arrow. Centerline, bring it out some distance. Oh, need a dimension. So they're going to attach the circle to the center line. And not the endpoint by the origin. Start the circle and click OK in the property manager. So once we add the dimensions, then it will start to tie this in. So it really doesn't matter if it's out here or out here. I'm just making sure that it doesn't pick up any extra relations. So dimensioning, click on the smart dimension. Select the circle. If it was still highlighted, it will automatically put the or start the dimension on the circle. Modify box 27, and then we're going to go to the vertical center line, place the dimension to 35. Alright, so mine wasn't selected. I'm going to highlight the circle, 27. We grab the center line, 35. Alright, and amazingly enough, that looks like it puts it right at the center of the boss. Alright, so if the center line did not have a vertical relation on it, we drew it and it got off a little ways one way or the other, then we would have to select the center line and come over to the relations and click vertical. When you're dragging, we had that little yellow box and it came up automatically to be vertical. Or it was inferred to be vertical. We're going to exit the sketch and it's going to put it into boss. I'm going to go extruded boss base. And we're going to set direction 1 to 30 millimeters. Alright. So thinking about these fillets as a general practice, I would not put the fillet in at that time. I would have waited till the end. Fillets have an uncanny ability to, if I pull a dimension off this edge and if I change it a little bit, then I'm really dimensioning off of a non-toleranced feature. And fillets, no matter how close you think you're going to get to plus or minus 5 thousandths, fillets and chamfers turn out to be what they turn out. So if that geometry in the manufacturing process, if they start driving other geometry though in the model, they can create other problems. So I would put that at the end. But we're going to see on the, does not look like I have my dynamic references on. So right clicking at the very top, dynamic reference visualization is going to be parent and child. So it is showing me nothing is related to the fillet. At this stage, I could move it to the end. Alright, we may not want to do that just yet though. Alright, if the circle's area is not highlighted in yellow, select the circle to define the selected contours. That was a center line. So the center line doesn't participate. You can certainly select the contour, but as long as that is a center line, it's not participating in the creation of the feature, so they're actually showing it as a line in the exercise, so that's a little annoying. Selecting the contour, since as soon as you have intersecting geometries, overlapping geometries, disjointed geometries, the selected contours is going to come up automatically, and then we would have to pick in this case, the contour, our circle, as opposed to the region. Actually, the region would work here too. Alright, but center line, you shouldn't have even seen that. So, sketching the tall cylinder hole. Now we're going to the extruded cut and top face of the tall cylinder sketch. And fingers are trying to get ahead of my mouth again. So top face, click on the circle, move the pointer, and what it's telling you is move the pointer to the edge of the tall cylinder and leave it there until the center point. If you drag slowly, it will also show up. Move the pointer over the new center point, click to place the center of the circle, move the pointer and click to finish the circle. Alright, so what all that means is as I drag along that edge, I'm going to see quadrants 0, 90, 180, 270, and the center of that circle. If I drag to that reference, I'm going to see the little yellow box that's showing me coincident. I click and drag and place the circle. And again, probably a good time to mention that I'm a click dragger, not a click clicker. If you click and then let go and click again, it has the same effect. It just depends on which preference you have for setting the geometry. All right, our smart dimension. If the circle is not already selected, we're going to pick the dimension, place the dimension, or pick the circle, place the dimension, and then type 15. Alright, so this time the circle is selected. When I go to smart dimension, it cleared something, so we're just going to pick it and hit OK. And OK. And then if I exit the sketch, because again I'm pre-selecting, I'm going into the sketch, then I'm going to, with sketch 7 selected here and with the circle selected here in the work area, then I'm going to go to the extruded cut, and again we're going to have a through all in condition. Go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so we're seeing the geometry start to come together. Adding fillets. Again, I'm not thrilled about adding fillets midstream. I would rather get them all at once at the very end. Interesting that they're also picking the bottom, but okay. So when you pick a face, the connected edges, so inside edge, outside edge, are both going to be selected. Radius was previously selected to 2. And what they're not telling you, alright, okay. So with pre-selecting, I have to hold down the control button and then select the additional items. Alright, if I'm cleared out and I go into fillet and I see the blue box, then I don't have to hold down the control button. So, and we are set to 2 millimeters. It's showing me that it's preview, and I'm using the middle mouse button to rotate, and we go ahead and hit OK. Alright, so fillets up and over and all around. Make sure that we're seeing something close here. Alright, a circular pattern. Create the 6 tall cylinder extrusions. Click View, Hide Show Temporary Axes. There's 2 ways to get to that. And keep in mind that you don't actually have to turn the temporary axes on if the geometry is such that you can pick a interior or exterior cylinder. That will suffice for the pattern. So what they're referencing is View, Hide Show, Temporary Axes. And if you go to the work area, the top bar, it'll be the second one over, second one down, and we'll turn it off that way when we get to it. Alright, so temporary axis is on. And so the view pull down, hide show, or from the hide show. Oh, one more mention on this. Make sure that you're picking the arrow, not the eye symbol, because that will turn everything hide or turn everything show. We're going to pick the linear pattern fly out and go to the circular pattern. property manager, direction 1, pattern axis equals spacing, number of instances, and somewhere in there we need to pick the temporary axis or the graphic. So the flyout is the arrow underneath linear pattern. We'll go to circular pattern. The feature flyout, well, let's go ahead with, that's probably why they haven't, let's see, number of instances. So it looks like they tell you to show it, and then if I'm reading this, okay, there's the select temporary axis. All right, and that goes in the first box. And then the features, we do the flyout, and we're going to do boss, cut extrude, fillet 2. All right, and there's going to be equally spacing, 360 degrees, 6 instances. Okay, we go ahead and accept. And apparently missed one. Maybe, maybe not. We'll double check here. So getting back into it, I can right click on the feature, edit the feature pattern. It's showing it there. Oh, but it's not showing up there, so it did not select. I'm not sure why that is, but we go back, we add it, and okay. So I'm through with the temporary axes, or at least I think I am. So hide show, little down arrow, temporary axis. I'm getting my unsaved document. It's been 20 minutes, so at the very least I'm going to hit Control S. And then adding the last fillet will be around the interior and exterior, not to include the edges of the center hole. And that's also going to be a 2mm fillet. All right, so picking an edge, and an edge, I can go to fillet, which is the same as going to fillet, items to fillet, and then I don't have to hold down the control button. It's showing me the preview and where all the fillets are going to go. Hit OK, and we hit save. All right, so they didn't leave out as much as I thought they did or suspected they did, but they really didn't provide a wealth of explanations to some of these additional items. So if you want to continue on into the drawing, let's go ahead and take a look and see what that goes with. All right, my first drawing, 3 view, some details. We're going to create a drawing. So they want tangent edges removed to hide transitions between. Okay, so let's see if that is set. So referencing the options, move that up just a little bit. Drawings, display style, tangent edges are shown as visible, and we're going to select removed. Okay. We're going to make a drawing from the part, so file, make drawing from part, which is the same as going new, draw. And click OK. We're going to go with an ANSI A size. So apparently it found, now it looks like an ANSI A size. So either it's set as the default template, or okay, SolidWorks creates the drawing. Make sure only show standard formats. So we'll go back and we'll take a look at that since it didn't pop up on mine. Tools, options, document properties, insert view, clear, center marks, holes. I kind of like those. Again, it's personal preference, your choice if you want to clear those or not. I'm going to leave them on. On the view palette tab, so this came up automatically. And it is auto starting the projected view, which is here. And we're going to drag the top view, which is the primary view, and hidden lines removed. So we'll see if those are defaults. All right, so top comes in. So there are my center marks and marks for the geometry. I'm going to go ahead and, well, maybe not. We place it in the first corner. They want to create a section view, so since they jumped into section view, we're going to go ahead and hit that check mark. And I don't know if theirs was a little bit smaller or not, but under the view layout, we have section view. Alright, so hidden lines are removed, at least as far as I can tell. And on the drawing toolbar, well, on the drawing toolbar it's the view layout, so we're going to go to section view in the command manager. Under the property manager, set it to vertical and then auto start. Place it, and then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, so click on the section view. It's in vertical. I'm going to place it on the origin so that it's centered. I don't need any jogs or angles, so we'll go ahead and hit OK. And we'll drag this one out. Alright, so if this folds up, this would be folding into the correct direction, or at least it looks like it. Now, I think they reversed theirs. I'm not sure why they reversed it. If this is the top view, and we're looking at it in this direction, then this folds. That makes more sense to me, so stay with what makes sense to you. A detail view, and they're going to find something in here we're just going to place. Looks about like that. And then there's our detail view, so when you click on it, and it is 1:1. Oh, now that might be part of it, is I'm still in inch, pounds, and seconds on my drawing toolbar. I guess I skimmed over that instruction. We'll go ahead and hit save. Push pressure plate drawing. An isometric view. So it's saying go to model view. Under orientation. Okay, so model view. My pressure plate is selected already. Hit the next button. And then we're going to pick the isometric. And then they want it shaded. I'm not a big fan of shading for print documents. And we'll place it somewhere. And we'll drag it around. Now, as much fun as it was, they maybe they wanted their center marks. Nope, their center marks pretty much look like mine that came in automatic. So I don't know. It's a toss up there of turning the center marks off and then having to put them in yourself, or leaving it on and having the software create them for you. And I'm just kind of dragging everything to where it doesn't look as cluttered. Alright, center marks, and then they propagate, and a center line. You're going to put center lines on the detail, so clicking the view, going back to annotation, coming over to center lines. Let's select the view. Alright, so that one gets it. We go ahead and hit OK. Center line, select the view, and OK. So since it's doing all of them, this center line refers to the interior radius. So we don't want that one, or it's confusing. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete on the keyboard. All right, we could probably do that here, except they're showing, nope, they're not showing up. The other thing would be to select the object. Let's see if that works. So clicking on the face, center line. Nope, that was a center mark. So if I go from edge to edge, then I could put them in individually. All right, placing dimensions, options, units. Well, let's go the shortcut and just go millimeters, grams, and seconds. The only thing here that we'll have to check out is, are we in 2 or 3 decimal places coming over from inches? All right, so a few dimensions. I don't know that I want to dimension all of this, so we'll pick a few. And 27, and there was a radius. No, still got the radius. So zoom up. There we go, 15. And it would appear that I'm in ISO. I didn't change my standard over to ANSI. And so is theirs. Edge of the circle. So they put in a handful of dimensions. And then detail dimensions. So I'll go ahead and put the 25 on there. There's certainly more and details that we need to pick up. So the fillet of 2 millimeters, and then I want to reverse the arrow, so I'm clicking on the handle right there at the end of the arrow. Let's see, dimension of 37, so from edge to edge or object to object. And 7. All right, so those are available to work with. Modifying text. Let's see. Select the cylinder, boss, and type 6 times. All right, so 27. It's referring to the dimension text. Or let's right click and select. I'll highlight, and then you also get a pop-up box. And I think that's a text on top. That would be a text in front. 6 times diameter, and we see the preview. And when we hit enter or click out, then it gives us the dimension, and we can reposition it, bring it back a little closer. All right, so hit save. Again, there's more things that we can do to this geometry, to our detail drawing, and then at some point we'll modify the template as well. All right, so when you're going through these, realize that there are some gaps. There's some explanations that I think that they could do better, but that taken with a grain of salt. The project is pretty decent. It will get you started, and we'll go from there.